Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. We talk with the CEO of marketing and publishing, Mario Fachini. He is a high school educated college dropout, never having a real job. He spent years as a dead broke consultant, wasting too much time chasing down the wrong clients. This made him create a simple, easy blueprint to attract prospects that has now made him one of the most in-demand client acquisition strategists in the country. We get into this and so much more. Enjoy the interview.
I'm doing great. Great to talk with you.
Yeah, great to talk to you. Great to meet you. Thanks for taking a minute out today.
Of course.
Before we get into your life and marketing and publishing, I want to know, how did you survive COVID? The last couple of years have been, pretty tumultuous for most people. How did you get through it, and how did it change you now that we're coming out of it?
So I set out my goals months in advance, and truthfully, I had set out the game plan for Q1 and Q2 of 20, the fall of 19. When everything went down, I was like, well, this is interesting. It's actually giving me the opportunity to focus even more, just out of the fact that I couldn't do anything, outside of the ordinary. And I don't want to say it's a distraction, because don't get me wrong, it sucked. I don't think anyone liked it, and there's stuff on both sides of whoever believes whatever, as to the real origin of it. But at the same time, I go, well, there's nothing we can really do, and I don't want anyone getting any more sick, because obviously, just like the flu or anything else, it's like you don't want to be subjected to it, even though it might not be as dangerous as everyone thinks, wherever. But I go, if we're going to be inside, that's awesome. I can focus on my book publishing and my software, So I still worked with my team remote. There's a lot less fun going on. But at the same time, it was pretty easy to go, what are we doing today? It's more of the same stuff. Thankfully, I had a game plan, and I didn't need to change a lot, really. It was just a matter of, finding ways to break out of the work mode, because it was, I'd say, in some ways harder, because it's really all you were doing, because there wasn't a lot of extra fun going on. And even if there was, it was all computer stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It was almost like you couldn't escape it. So let's simplify to a certain degree what you do for a living. And I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day. One of them looks up and says, what do you do for a living? And how are you qualified? How would you answer them?
I publish business books for successful entrepreneurs that want to help more people.
So let's go back in your life and talk to me about your childhood. And what did you want to be when you were a kid?
I think a dinosaur, honestly. I mean, seriousness aside, I always liked movies. I mean, who doesn't? And I actually wanted to go into movie making. And I still, in some ways, pretty much do that with our clients, because with the book publishing, I have them come into the studio and record the audiobook. We do video as well to help them promote it. The end result is different. It's not a 2-hour movie necessarily, but the passion and the effectiveness is still there, because video is one of the best ways, to connect with your audience. Now, this might sound counterintuitive, but people ask me all the time, should you start a podcast, do a book, or do videos? And I go, I still have to say start with the book, because it's the only one of those three. They're all good, but it's the only one where you're done with it, you're done with it. Podcast, if you said, well, I'm going to do 10 episodes or 20 and consider that as much work as a book, great, you got 10 or 20 episodes. You're never done. Same thing with videos. You could say, let's do 10 or 20 YouTube videos or 10, 20 whatever videos. It's still a ton of work. It's still effective, but I don't feel it has the same impact a book would if you said, let's draw the line at X amount of hours. So I've always wanted to help people, and I wanted to go into movies. I incorporate it with what we do. But I truthfully had a period of time where I also wanted to be FBI, CIA, doctor, lawyer. I always just wanted to help people. And I guess from the movies, it looked cool. but come to find out it's a ton of work. You're not in control, obviously. I mean, I don't own the government. I don't think anyone does. It's debatable, but you know what I mean? If I'm a officer or a lawyer or whatever, you're still beholden to someone else telling you what to do and all of that. And that's really where I drew the line with the entrepreneurship. And I was like, I got to work for myself. So that's kind of my first thoughts before I started my first company.
So where was the hard turn in the road that made you go down this path that you're on right now?
High school. That's an easy one. Thank you for that. It's been an eventful week. That's a real easy one. I realized I'm going to have a very successful business or an expensive hobby. I quickly realized I love photography, love video, love helping people. Marketing was something that kind of came naturally to me, and then I parlayed that into publishing over a decade ago when I got started with it. But I've always just, like I said, wanted to help people, and everything I've ever wanted to do has a component of that, but that's where the entrepreneurship really came in. I'm like, there's no way I'm stopping doing this. It's either going to be a very expensive hobby or a successful business, but I couldn't fathom seeing not doing it.
So I guess so you've always worked for yourself. This has been your path the whole way.
I've been full-time in business since '08. There was, I joke that I did a 5 or 6 year stint beforehand at different jobs, but this was high school. This was not like corporate career. It was like high school, college, but I always have had the business. Yeah, I started my first business when I was 12, so I've always had the business. I think the only reason I didn't go into it sooner was just from everyone going, where are you going to go to college? What are you going to do? What are you going to, the whole typical pressure, societal, but I always kind of knew it was business. I just kept telling people, like, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer. And then one day I was walking to the bank again with my friend. We were going to go have some fun, and I had to go do another bank run. I was going so often because people were giving me cash from lawns. I actually started calling it the nuisance. I have to go to the nuisance, which had I known anything about speaking the future, I would have shut the heck up real quick. But we were standing in the parking lot. And I was about to go in. I go, hey, so do you want to go to see this? Or I think we were going to the movies or something. He just stopped and looked at me. He's like, you're going to the bank for the 5th time this week. Are you really telling people you're going to be a lawyer? You've got to be kidding me. And I kind of looked at him. I was like, well, and he looked at me like, you're just making stuff up. And I'm like, maybe I should rethink this.
Yeah.
So it was a point like that. I was like so far into the business, I just maybe was I wasn't putting on a front. I really did want to be a lawyer and help people, but I just couldn't stand school or the time or just being told what to do. It's like, I just can't do it.
So what is it that you look forward to every day? I mean, you're motivated to do your own thing. What is it that when you get to the end of the day where you feel accomplished and you feel good about what you've done?
Giving someone else a breakthrough. With
that in mind, what's been one of the best letters or feedbacks or responses that you've gotten from a client or a reader or somebody that's run into you that, like, you've provided them a service?
I will have to say something to the effect of, and I'm paraphrasing here, I never thought about it like that. And truthfully, I just got off a call with my design team, and even they were looking at me like I would have never thought about, the stuff I train them with and the stuff we discuss. There's few people who look at stuff from the bigger picture across a wide variety of industries and can make something new about it. And I love the ability to just look at something, whether it's video and digital or publishing in digital and physical or completely physical, and combining it with, the way I do stuff is always a combination of all the best of the best I've learned from different things, that it doesn't really adhere to any one necessarily marketing thing or one necessarily publishing thing. I pull a lot from cinema and broadcast into publishing just the same way I would with business and marketing. To most people, publishing is nothing more than getting your words on paper and having it get put up on Amazon. I joke all the time, all you need is 24 pages and know how to send an attachment. It's not rocket science. How to have an effective launch that's profitable with intent and a goal of serving your audience more, it takes a little bit more. So whether it's a client, an audience, my own team, whoever, someone just asking me, I'm not going to lie to someone just because they're not paying me. I mean, I tell everyone the same exact answers. It's just a matter of how in-depth we go and are we doing it for you or not. But the stuff that's in my book is the same stuff I'd tell you in person or on stage, regardless of who you are.
So you started this in '08, and we're here in 2022, and I'm curious, in this career that you've had in marketing, more specifically marketing than anything else, what's been the biggest breakthrough, technological or just the human breakthrough that you've seen that's made things so much easier to market or so much easier to get people where they want to go?
I would have to say it's the human breakthrough of understanding what makes people tick and what really motivates them. Because the technical stuff is always changing, but what I like reading, I love reading myself, not just because I'm a publisher and author, but I've always liked reading. It's probably why I got into it. Reading stuff from 100 years ago, like how did these people build billion-dollar companies at the turn of the century without computers, without technology, and barely without electricity? Conversely, what stops people nowadays when we have arguably more advantage than ever? It still comes back to the human component and, fear, confusion, doubt, beliefs, everything of that nature that holds us back. So that's why I like giving people transformations. And also, I'd say my own breakthrough, client breakthroughs, they were always with the human component.
So if you have a dream tonight and you run into a younger version of yourself, say, in '08 when you were really getting out there and doing your thing as an entrepreneur, and you could give your young version a piece of advice based on the wisdom and experience and roads you've traveled up to this point, what would you tell your young version?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I think about this often because in some ways I'm glad everything happened. In other ways, I would say you had it right before you started listening to everyone else that was trying to tear you down. I very often, very candidly think back to when I was in high school and my first business from 12 to 18 and the thought process I had shifting stuff around to go, do I want to do this full time? The stuff I believed in the beginning was the truth. What jacked me up and slowed me down was listening to everyone else and their input who probably didn't even have my best interest at heart. But I was just like, they're older, they're wiser, they're my friends, they're obviously trying to help. And the truth is, I just got distracted trying to be everything to everyone. I mean, you can't do that. It's like there was a reason God gave me this vision and it was on my heart. I mean, 12, you're barely alive at that point. I sold that business when I was in college, first year of college. Like, how did I have that then? And there's things that even recently have been like, oh, this is kind of fearful. It's like, are you stupid? You were doing this 10 times over 20 years ago. What's the difference? It's still the same me and same, it's the mindset.
For most people that aren't entrepreneurs and that work for other people and don't go after and have their own entity, I find it interesting that people like you and other people that are leaders in business, most of the world sees failure or, not doing, like, failure, I guess, plain and simple, as a huge, huge fear factor. But entrepreneurs embrace it, It's a way of learning. Is that kind of your mentality on it?
I got to be honest, I'm not trying to embrace it. Sometimes it really sneaks up on you, and I would love to deal with a lot less of it, but I don't let it stop me. I never let it stop me. Even when I just feel like I'm at my wit's end, I always know it's like, what's the alternative? I think about the people I can't help. And I talk about that, like I tell people that are afraid to do a book, I'm like, it's not about you. Don't get your ego, stop being selfish. The book is to help you transform other people's lives with your knowledge and expertise. So anytime I want to give up on me, I probably do. But the second I think about helping you, helping your listeners, helping that next person who probably really is struggling, it's not just a mental mind game. I know I can help them, and I know I have an answer to something. Who am I to say, I have all this knowledge and expertise, I'm not going to help anyone else with it. I'm going to be selfish and just make it about me because I'm scared about XYZ. It's a horrible way to live. You get really, it's just wrong.
So let me ask you this. We're on the precipice, historically speaking, in our lives, coming out of this COVID period and just so many things that have happened. You had mentioned when I was asking you about, breakthroughs, and you mentioned that it was more human than anything else. What do you see as a breakthrough in your business model and industry of what you're going after, say, in the next 10 years? What do you think is going to change about the way that we approach things as human beings? What do you think that is?
I think technologically it's going to blow our minds what we come up with, even what we have today. If it was used at its full potential, I have no doubt it would change the world for the positive. The downside is we live in a fallen world, and there's a lot of evil people who are just more aggressive. I mean, for every one person I believe has a true intentions and a good heart, and they're just struggling to get their message out, there's probably 10, if not 100, that could tear them down quicker just because they're more aggressive with it. So it's one reason, excuse me, it's one reason I'm excited to have my new book out, and I made a commitment to help 10,000 businesses because it really irritates the living crap out of me how many people are hurting, and I want to do more to support them. And I looked at myself and go, I don't want to do this. I mean, like I said, if it's up to me, I'm completely... I think we all can sit around and do nothing and be completely fine and just have a couple of friends and call it good. But I don't think that's why we were put here. So when I go back at it, I started looking at what can I do this next decade? I've been talking about the roaring 20s for years. How cool, when we look back in history, it's like, bad event, good event, bad event. And I always was drawn to the 20s because it's like, look what happened from the late 1880s to the early 1900s. The world just exploded in a positive way with growth and industry and innovation. And I go, why don't we have that? And if we do, why aren't we talking about it more? I go, there's something wrong. It's either being suppressed and no one's sharing it, or it's just not happening. Either one, not good. I go, we're going to have our roaring 20s again. And, I was promoting it, talking about it on my show and going into it. I would have never guessed we lost the first 2 years of it. But I have a big dream and goal to help a lot of people. And that's why I go, you know what, on top of this other stuff, I'm going to redo everything I've done the last 10 years and set a new foundation to support more people in a bigger way with publishing. Because I believe there's anyone with a business, they have a message and a story to tell, and you can also use it for lead generation and grow your profits. But everyone should get their message out there. Most people just are either afraid of it or don't know how.
So, Mario, everyone has a perception or an idea of who they think you are. Your family, your friends, your clients, your readers, but ultimately you live your life. You have a perception of you. Who do you think you are?
That's a great question. Constantly discovering that. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, and other times I know I was put here for a purpose to help people and inspire them, change their lives. And ultimately, I do everything I can to stay in that mindset over the other one, but I'd be lying if I said it's not both. I mean, every time I go to push for something, it's like, yeah, you're met with resistance and you got to push through it. But it doesn't mean it's fun or anything. I think that's one reason most people don't even try it. Comfort's a nice place. But I also think my own personal hell is being in the same place I was the previous year, 10 years prior. It's like we're designed to grow and help people. But every time I've done it, it brings me back to when I started the business. And I'm just like, I really want to be past some of this stuff. And the truth is, you're probably never going to be past it. I heard the sharks on Shark Tank say, we still get fear, but we just go through it quicker. I'm like, okay, I'm dreaming here if I think life's going to be that straight line you see in that picture and there's not going to be any more squiggles. I just don't like them.
Mario, if anyone out there wants to learn more about you, get your books, anything involving your business, where's the best place for them to go?
eapublishingmethodbook.com.
Wonderful. Thank you for opening up. Happy holidays. Have a great 2023, man. I appreciate you taking time out.
You too. Take care. Great talking with you.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, and music from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.